everyone. My name is Carlos Rodriguez. I am a brand new TRIA member. I've been a TRIA member for a little bit over a month now. Two main reasons why I joined TRIA are one, education, and two, building relationships. A little bit about myself. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. I moved to the Raleigh area back in May of last year with my wife and now 2-year-old daughter. Um, when we first moved here, I was a stay-at-home dad, but I recently transitioned into working as a real estate agent, which I'm pretty excited about. I'm a pretty new investor, zero properties, and I hope to get in the area of rental properties, specifically renting to medical students. I hope to meet all of you soon. I will be on that Unbus tour this Saturday, so hopefully I meet some of you then. And if anyone would like to contact me for any reason at all, here's my contact info. And hope to meet all of you soon. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Carlos Rodriguez. I am a brand new TRIA member. I've been a TRIA member for a little bit over a month now. Two main reasons why I joined TRIA are one, education, and two, building relationships. A little bit about myself. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. I moved to the Raleigh area back in May of last year with my wife and now 2-year-old daughter. When we first moved here, I was a stay-at-home dad, but I recently transitioned into working as a real estate agent, which I'm pretty excited for. I'm a pretty new investor, zero properties, and I hope to get in the area of rental properties, specifically renting to medical students. Anyways, I hope to meet all of you soon. I will be on that Unbus tour this Saturday, so hopefully I meet some of you then. And if anyone would like to contact me for any reason at all, here's my contact info. And hope to meet all of you soon. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, welcome to New Investors. We have your subgroup host, Andrew Miller, has a great program for you tonight. We're going to go through a few announcements, then we'll tell you what meetings we have upcoming, and then we'll turn it over to Andrew, who will introduce your speaker for tonight. For one thing, it's great to see all your beautiful faces. Please turn your cameras on so we can see your beautiful faces. Great that so many of you have them on. For example, now I can see Carlos Rodriguez, who just did the little video there for you. Yay! That was awesome. So if you guys, one of the things that we have a really tough time with is networking in a virtual world when we can't meet in person. And one of the ways we're trying to help with that is anyone can make a little intro video. We have 10 or so of those, and we play them, rotate them around meetings. You are more than welcome to make one. Drop us a note in the chat or email to triaprojects.com. We'll tell you how to do it and we'll get you in rotation. The other thing you can do while we can't go live, which by the way, in case you missed it, we did try to have our main meeting live in March. Unfortunately, a bunch of you let us know that you just weren't quite ready yet. And we get that. We don't want to push it. So we backed off. What we're going to do is in April, we're going to offer you, I think Leslie maybe will tell you, 2 subgroups, because that, it's the smaller numbers. We don't need to make a minimum for the venue. So we'll start that way. And when it's ready, we'll go back to live. And, it's been a long time. I was going to say it seems like a long time, but truly it has been a long time. My God. But I spoke at a panel the other day on the COVID rollout vaccine for employers. And the health department person who spoke before me says, by end of May, there's supposedly anyone who wants it can get vaccinated. So you know what? We're on the home stretch. We'll just hang in there. We'll get there. But anyway, until that time, the Facebook networking group is awesomely active. Remember, we have 2 pages. Like our TRIA page, Triangle Real Estate Investors Association page, and then join our Triangle Real Estate Investors Association networking group. That's the one where you can interact, you can put up deals, put up what you're looking for, ask for suggestions. It's super active. There's all kinds of stuff going on there. So please do that. And, and we also are having one networking meeting a month now, which has just turned out to be super fun. We're just having the greatest time. We set up the normal rooms like we did with in-person networking for landlords, rehabbers, wholesalers, and hard money. But you know what? A lot of times we just end up in the general room. It's really fun and instructive. People are getting a lot out of it. So some of the new things we have going on, since we were able to change our entity and do some things we were not able to do before, our prep program. We have just started prep wholesale. That class is full and it's already had its first meeting. So yay for that. The group will actually do a wholesale deal. Prep rehab is a couple months down the road yet. This will be our second class of that. We did one last year, which was very successful. We'll be doing that again. We do have an interest list. So if you want to get on it, let us know. And when the time comes, we'll send out the information in case you want to sign up. We have on social media 2 Rehab Tuesday. That's where you go every Tuesday. Follow 2 very different rehab projects. One simple, fix and flip, sell it. One, a gut, redo the floor plan. So follow those. What we'd love you to do is get involved in the conversation. Do you like this color? Do you like the floor plan? Do you like to do a simple flip or a complicated one? But we're just trying to get everyone to join in. And that is only on social media and it comes out on Tuesdays. The Unbus tour, which we had, was a great success, and Crystal Slater gets all the credit for that. She did an awesome job. And she will be putting a new one together. Maybe going to try to do that quarterly is what we're thinking. And our original intent was to eventually go back to a bus tour instead of an unbus tour. But honestly, we got really great feedback that people liked driving themselves. So we'll be assessing that. Who knows? Maybe we'll keep it unbus. Okay, so prep is also has a virtual component, and the prep rehab and wholesale are the prep in person. The prep virtual is once a month, and that is where we will take you through a basic thing. Like our first one was a purchase contract. You will actually get to follow along and do it along with us. It's super step-by-step basics. And then finally, well, if you are an experienced member, and it doesn't mean you have to be a longtime TRIA member, as just an experienced investor, we are looking to add you to our TRIA Brain Trust. That is sort of a way for you to move up and become a leader in TRIA. Perhaps if you're interested in joining the board in the future, that's a sort of proving ground. You will have the opportunity to develop classes, teach classes if you want, get paid for it. But you'll get some special offers, but just really a chance to become a leader in TRIA and to help, help set the future and help develop programs. And then finally, we have our new mentorship program. Lionel Finley's in charge of that. There is a fee for it, but if you would like a mentor, drop Lionel a note and let us know. And those are some of the new things we have going on. It has been a great year so far, and it's only going to get better. So thank you all for being here. With that, I'm going to let Leslie tell you what's coming up. Oh, and before I do that, board members on the call tonight, we have Karen Lewis. Karen is heading up our new improved vendor program, along with two of our members, James Clark and April Williams. You'll be hearing more from them. But in the meantime, if you have someone you'd like to recommend as a vendor, please do. And it doesn't have to be, a roofer or a flooring person. It can be anything you use and like that, because, we're all people. We all need those services. And remember that your TRIA dues are really low. With the meetings we have throughout the year when we're live, of course, this is different when we're on, here on Zoom. When we're live, dues do not even begin to cover the meeting costs with the room and the food. The way we keep those down is by vendors and every once in a while a selling speaker. So why should you want to send vendors? Well, it helps keep your dues down, number one. Number two, it just helps build our community. And all these new programs and everything we're doing this year is really about building community. So when we get vendors, then you bring in a vendor and then members start using them. It builds the love from the vendor, and maybe they'll get more involved in TRIA, sponsor some things, we'll promote the vendor, and it makes our community better. So if you have anyone you like, recommend them. Karen has just put her email in the chat. And not only that, we'll also pay you a commission. But don't do it for the commission. Do it because you want to help build the community and make TRIA better. So
the commission's nice too.
Now I'll turn it over to Leslie.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, everyone. Thanks for being here. See all some of your smiley faces. And just what's coming up on the calendar, because I know you all are checking them regularly, but just in case you haven't been on there in the last couple of days. Of course, tonight we've got a great speaker with Adam Schneider, who is a font of information with regards to finding deals. And then on Friday the 12th with Melanie. With the experienced investors, she is going to be talking. She's got a CPA coming on. It's going to talk about the 5 mistakes that are mostly made in real estate bookkeeping. And it's very, very important that you keep your books straight with your deals, because otherwise you end up paying a whole lot more taxes than you should. So you want to tune in with Melanie on Friday. That's the one of our 2 midday meetings that are scheduled at 12:30. So that's when you can pop on, is at 12:30 on Friday. And then of course, we tried to go live with the monthly main meeting. And we understand that there's still some kinks to be worked out with the vaccines and all, get everybody getting vaccinated and stuff like that. So it is going to be back on Zoom next Tuesday night. And it's going to be our speaker is going to be Edwin Kelly, Specialized IRA. Edwin is a very dynamic speaker, knows all the ins and outs. If you've ever thought of doing any investing with your IRA, he is the guy that will be able to tell you how to do it. So that will be next Tuesday night. And then Kathy's told you about the prep, which would be Thursday. And did you have a topic for next week, Kath, or not yet?
Well, yeah, it's one of two things. Either we're gonna do what we canceled because I had pneumonia, which was how to find tax delinquent properties for free. Or I had lined up a plumber for March, so who's gonna teach how to change your fixtures without having to cut into your wall and change your valve. It's a little complicated, so he's gonna go through that. But it's be one of those two.
Okay, so that'll be prep on the Thursday, the 18th. So the rest of the month, I think Roxana is going to be for Tria West on the 22nd. Is I think her subject, she's kind of given me a hint, it might have something to do with ADUs or accessory dwelling units. Google it, find out what it is, and then join Roxana on the 22nd, Monday, for her meeting. And then just keep checking back on the calendar. It's going to be getting updated here in the next few days, and we'll get more topics, meeting topics on there. That's, I think, all I have. So Andrew, it's all yours.
Hey, Andrew, I'm sorry. Before you start,
Oh.
I realized I started introducing board members and didn't finish. I got off on a tangent. I'm so sorry. But other board members we have in the call is Leslie Ortiz, who you just heard from, who's our vice president, Jackie Richards, who does all of our PR. And I think that's all we have on the board tonight. I'm Kathy Russell. I'm the president of TRIA this year. Sorry about that, guys. Go ahead, Andrew. It's all yours.
No, thank you. Important stuff. Yeah, and I think next month, this meeting, I think it's still TBD if we're doing it in person or on Zoom. So stay tuned for that. First of all, thank you, Adam Schneider. He's fresh off travel and he's agreed to do this with us today. He's a world of knowledge for us. So really appreciate you being here. And initially when I came to Adam, I asked him if he wanted to talk on the topic of how do you find deals in today's market? And he brought up a great point. One, it's I think Cheryl did a great topic on this yesterday as well, but he says really the where hasn't changed. The topic really should be how to be prepared to jump on deals. Now, I mean, anyone that's really made an offer on anything in recent time can probably relate to this. So I just thought that was so good. So I appreciate you updating that for me and making this more relevant to what's going on right now. Also, correct me if I get anything wrong with your background, but Adam comes from over 10 years of experience. And I think the majority of that, he's been a longtime TRIA member. He's done a couple conversations with us before on the experienced investor side. So again, he's a force to be reckoned with. But he started out just like us, not knowing what to do. It was also pre-Bigger Pockets times. So he started as an investor buying homes through a franchisee, which I'm sure he'll talk about. He transitioned over to hard money lending, and then eventually ended up doing coaching for new investors, for expert investors, and also as far as franchise coaching as well. So Adam's experience comes from a wealth of different areas. So again, appreciate you being here, and yeah, you can feel free to take it away.
Hey, thank you for the introduction. I need to bring Andrew with me everywhere I go. That would be fantastic. You did a better job than I would. All right, we're screen sharing here. Let's see if we get this going. Everyone see my screen?
We got it.
Okay, great. So, okay, that wasn't me. I didn't know I was that good that I got the music going there too. Anyway, my name's Adam, like he said, and so I titled this topic "Finding Inventory, Having Inventory Find You, and Making Offers." And we've got 13 PowerPoint slides to go through, and that's primarily to keep me on track. If nobody talks at all, I'll be talking for 15, 20 minutes. I'm not able to see the chat because I've got my screen share, so you can just interrupt me at any point when you have something to ask or talk about, and we'll go from there. So we have about 40 minutes. I'm 20 minutes prepared, and then there's 20 minutes available. So on the agenda, the background, Andrew covered most of it, so we'll move through that. I do want to take a moment and just recommend to people how to come into a meeting as an audience in terms of what's a successful meeting going to look like for you when you go to these TRIA events. Then we'll go into looking at for properties, and we'll break it down into the categories you can see there, and then we'll do the Q&A. All right, so he got most of this stuff here. What's important is I was in the corporate world beforehand, and before 2012, I didn't know any of the terminology that I'm now so comfortable with. 2012 is when the real estate market was getting over a hangover, I guess, from 07, 08, 09. It's changed now, so it's helpful to talk with people who've been through it. I jumped in with TRIA right away, and it's been so helpful for me. I joined a franchise, like he said, because I wanted to find inventory, and that was the way to do it. I got a license for strategic purposes. I was asked to be a development agent to bring other people on board. I like talking real estate, love doing these meetings. I like having conversations. It's just a lot of fun. I became a hard money lender in 2015 with Oakwood Lending. We're a vendor for TRIA. And so I get an opportunity to see so many deals because people come to me for loans, and that's been really helpful. For 3 years, from 17 to 19, I was hosting the Experienced Investor Group, and spin the clock forward to March 10th, and here we are today talking with the new investors. So glad to be here. All right, when you're going into a meeting, you should have something you're trying to get out of it. So it'd be helpful to always write down, if you're going to go to any of these meetings, what is it you're trying to get out of that meeting? And it should be one of these categories. Education, we'll try to educate. Entertainment, I'll do my best to do a little light entertainment. Networking, they were talking about that earlier. You can always use the chat room and share your name, your information. This is not a specific skill training, so that's not what you're going to want to get out of this. And hopefully these meetings, you'll walk out of here motivated to keep on doing it. All right, let's start with finding properties. There's really two buckets of ways you're going to do it. You're either going to be passive or you're going to be active. If you're passive, you're thinking, I'm in my pajamas and I'm going to scroll through MLS. I'm in my pajamas, I'm going to auction.com or Zillow or something similar. It's going to be easier to search, but it's going to cost you more to buy that property because it's easier for everybody to search. Alternatively, if you're looking for inventory, you're going to be active. You're going to work a lot harder to find the property, but you're doing it before anybody else or with less competition. You're driving around, or you're word of mouthing it, or you're networking. You're networking with agents, or you're networking with wholesalers. So you'll want to understand who you are and how much time you're going to want to commit to this. If you're only buying one house, it's going to look different than if you're looking to buy a lot of houses. Pre-COVID, active listings on average on MLS, Triangle MLS, we were hovering around 7,000. 2-3 months into COVID, we were hovering around 5,000. 2 more months, we're at 4,000. A year later, today, 2,543 properties are active. If you look at the $100,000 to $300,000 range, 743 properties are active. So you've got to recognize the environment you're in, and you need to respond to it. Last year, frankly, I was slow to respond, and so I didn't buy as many houses as I think I should have had I known then what I know now. All right, so if you're finding properties and you're going on MLS, the two best opportunities are the following. If you're a buy and hold investor, it may have a place for you because you can pay more, because you're earning your revenue over a long period of time as long as you hold it, versus a fix and flip investor who's only buying it once and selling it once. Or if you're somebody who's really comfortable with big rehabs or new builds or redeveloping and nobody else is, that may be a place for you. Since this is for new investors on this call, likely that's not the right match. If you are going to be looking at auctions, you need to know how North Carolina works. I know we have a lot of people who are transplants, and we're quirky in North Carolina. It's an upset bid process, which means if you make a bid on a property at the courthouse steps, that means nothing. It's a 10-day upset bid, which means the clock starts, anyone can jump your bid 5% higher. And it starts the clock again, they can go on forever. So with whatever auction you're going to, understand how they work so that you you're not wasting time. Now, if you're going the active route, which is probably what a lot of people are looking at doing because we're here with an investor group, you need a buy box. And if this is the first time you've ever heard the term buy box, let's go ahead and spend a little time on it. What's a buy box? Well, it's a list of criteria for the property that you want to buy that's going to be eligible for you to buy it. So let's just think about dating and dating criteria. If you're going to date somebody, you're not just going to say, hey, I'm looking for someone to date. So on the left side, this is this person's dating criteria. Can you spell? Can you read? Do you know how to use irregardless in a sentence? Oh, you do? Well, you fail. So this is a trust and verify checkpoint here because irregardless is not a real word, but everybody uses the word and we really get tricked and confused in Raleigh because we had irregardless cafe. So no wonder everybody's confused. Just like when a wholesaler presents a property to you, you want to trust their numbers and then you want to verify it. You want to test it out. You may have a very limited dating criteria like that, or your dating criteria might be really thick. On the right side, this person's got 20 different criteria there. The more criteria you have, the fewer possible properties you're going to have in your box. So what are some advantages of a buy box as you're looking to buy? Well, it's going to force you to critically self-evaluate and understand who you are as an investor. And that process is so powerful. Secondly, it's going to show the other party, whether that's the real estate agent or the wholesaler or whomever, that you're serious and you're focused and it's not just a casual hobby because you saw an HGTV episode and you think it's going to take you 22 minutes to flip a house. And it's going to allow you to eliminate time-wasting activities because you're not going to be dating the person who doesn't know how to spell or use irregardless in a sentence or has any of those other restrictive qualities. So what does that look like in terms of examples in real estate? So I've got a checklist here and I'm going to leave this on the screen for a little bit and we'll just talk through some of them. So you're talking to the wholesaler or the agent. Geography is an important component. You may say, I want to be within an hour of where I live. If you're going to be a buy and hold investor and you're going to be self-managing a property, geography is going to be more important than if you're a buy and hold investor and you're going to have a property manager manage it. It's not going to matter as much. If you're flipping a property and you're going to be close and be involved and want to go see the property all the time, it's a big difference in that. If you're a buy and hold investor for cash flow, your area, your geography is going to be different than if you're a buy and hold investor for a fix and flip, or sorry, for appreciation. In Raleigh, you might get the appreciation, but not the cash flow. In an outside market, you might get the cash flow and not the appreciation. And so the geography is a critical component of your look for where you're going. Property type, there may be certain kinds of properties that you're comfortable with or not comfortable with. Let everybody know. Age of the home. You may say you want nothing before World War II. Now, this is a trick question because you can have a home that acts old, that acts out of warranty, that looks like it has outdated electrical and such. That scares you. But it could have an effective date that's much newer because it had a renovation done. And so in the age component, you really want to think through what you are concerned about or not. You'll want to let them know what size you're comfortable with for different reasons, or number of beds and baths. Obviously the price. And the rehab size is a big thing. So if you're uncomfortable doing a big rehab, you don't want people to bring you projects that are going to be big ones. Profit minimums. This is so important if you're dealing with people because they want to know what's going to be an acceptable profit performance project for you so that they know what's going to be a match. And it may be a dollar amount, or it might be done as a percentage. It might be done as cash on cash. It may be done as an ROI. It may be done as a CapEx with your CapEx in there and all this stuff. It may be any number of ways, but you need to be able to explain to people what your profit minimum is so that you can efficiently connect with the right match. If there's something unique, you want to let people know that. The more unique you are, the more they will remember you. So there's one person I deal with and he says he wants 1,500 square foot house, that's a 3-1, 3-bed, 1-bath with a crawl space because he wants to always add a bathroom. That's his thing. Or there may be things you don't want to touch. You want to avoid these at all costs. If you're a buy and hold, you may not want anything with an HOA fee that's going to depress your return. I'm going to stop for a second here just because this is really important and wait and see if anybody wants to talk about it.
If you have anything you'd like to say, feel free to speak up or stick it in the chat. Guess not, Adam.
Okay. All right. So you figured out what your criteria is. You've let everybody know. You're looking around, and now the property that's the one you want has been emailed to you, or you found it on MLS. You've got to go pretty darn fast nowadays. And so one of the critical components is your funding. And really there's 4 different pieces I want to take a look at here. And we'll start from the right side. Everyone loves talking about owner finance. We get lots of gurus who come through and talk about it. It has a place, but its normal place is one where the seller is not in a rush to get all their money. They need a larger amount of money than you'd pay for cash for it, and they're willing to carry it over time. That has a place, but that's a really small place. So we'll leave that alone. The second cheapest money is bank money. And so there's an obvious reason why people would want to use the bank money. But we don't see it when we're in this space that we're in, where we're buying from wholesalers, or we're buying at auctions, or we're in a really competitive seller's market and we're worried about appraisals because they're too slow. They're good for the refinance if you're going to go ahead and buy it quickly and you have a bridge loan, but they're too slow for the initial acquisition. So that leaves you really with 2 things. You have your own cash, or you have hard money. If you have your own cash, go ahead and buy the property with that cash and then decide whether you want to refinance out with a bank. If you don't have your own cash, but there's equity in the property, then that's when you're going to want to seek out a friends or family member, or an institutional hard money lender, or a private hard money lender, which is what our Oakwood Lending does. And TRIA's got a bunch of vendors who are various types of lenders. So you can find a bunch there. But anyway, you don't want the funding to be a slowdown for you on your deal. So you want to be prepared. All right, so you found this property and you've got money. Are all offers created equal? No, they're not. So many times, this is so odd to me, but people just automatically jump in with the price and they haven't understood what's important for the seller. As an investor, it may only be about the numbers for you, but for the seller, there's a lot of emotion, timeframes, life-changing decisions, all these things. They want to know that you're going to be a performing buyer on it. So let's start with the deposits. If you're not from North Carolina, or you're not familiar with the real estate, and you were to use a standard North Carolina form designed by the Bar Association and the Realtors, that's called the 2-T. And in it, you'll see 2 different lines for deposits. Actually, there's more, but we'll talk 2. One is your DD, or your due diligence, and one is your earnest money deposit. They're different. Your DD is a non-refundable deposit. It goes to the seller immediately. Your earnest money deposit is refundable during the inspection or due diligence period and turns hard or non-refundable once you pass that inspection period. That money is held in escrow by an attorney or by your real estate firm, depending on if they hold it. Obviously, if you're going to go big with your deposit, you're going to have a much better chance to get that property. It's odd to me that people say that they're frustrated that they can't buy anything, and yet their deposits are insultingly small. If you're going to play, you've got to be ready to do this. If you want to consult with your agent or whoever you want to consult with, be ready before you even see a property with what's a comfortable deposit in your offer. That shouldn't be something that you're thinking about once the property comes in front of you. Well, that's something that you should be ready for before any property comes there, that you've already thought through. Let's talk about time. Sometimes we want to be so proud of ourselves that we can close so quickly and we can spin it around as investors. But that's the last thing that the seller wants. They need the time to transition, don't they? They might need a seller buyback, a seller possession after closing. They may need to wait 3 months. They may need to figure out when they can get the next home bought. And as investors, that's a powerful piece we have if we have flexibility with time. So ask them the question about what's an ideal time frame for the turn. The next thing I want to talk about is if you can make it an easy sounding, feeling transaction, people are just naturally going to be more likely to go with you, all else created equal. And we covered the funding already, so that's redundant.
Hey, Adam.
Yes.
So I have a question, and so that you can also tie this back to your buy box as well. As like a new investor or someone, just getting into this with limited money, a little bit of hesitation, what is the best way, the most powerful way that we could differentiate ourselves from other people? Is it really like having cash to be able to make the offers? Is it looking for a higher price range than most new investors would? Like, is there one nugget of advice that you could really give new investors that has seemed to be impactful?
Yep, that's a really nice question. And so here's how I'll answer it. What's important to the seller is what's going to drive that. So if you can ask the questions to the seller about what they're looking for, you may hear different answers. As a general rule, people are going to want more money rather than less. But if you have a scenario as a seller and you could sell your house for $200,000 with a bank loan or $199 with cash, I think just about every single person would go ahead and forego the $1,000 because of the cash, right? So there's a balance there. But these are the things that I have on the screen that I think for most people are most important. They want to know what the deposit is because that's skin in the game, so they know you're serious. You've made it easy because you've lined up their time. And then how are you going to fund it? And so that's a balance. In this particular space and time that we're in, it seems like we're getting so many more cash offers on properties that we used to not, and the deposits have gone up. And that's actually one other thing I didn't put on here, but I was talking earlier with a couple people, is there's always the question about the appraisal. So if you can make an offer that says that you'll cover above the appraisal, that may make you a stronger buyer. So put yourself in the shoes of the seller.
It's interesting. Thanks.
I'm looking at the chat. Carlos Rodriguez asked what the average timeline is for closing with hard money.
I love that question. And Carlos, you're from Chicago, which is my hometown. So I love it. You should bring some pizza over with you and then we'll have a good time to talk. Chicago pizza. Anyway, to answer your question, institutional hard money lenders and private hard money lenders are going to have different timelines. Institutional hard money lenders are going to be national players or regional players, and they're going to require an appraisal. That's usually the slowdown. And then if you're initially getting started with them, they'll have some more paperwork. And so probably that moves between, I don't know, maybe 10 days and 3 weeks, and maybe other people on the call can tell me if they've had a different experience with it. For a private hard money lender, it'll go faster. For us, Oakwood Lending, as a barometer, we ask for an appraisal about 3% of the time and something really crazy. So if we don't need an appraisal, it's really as fast as you can get us the paperwork, and then we can spin a quick review, which we do ourselves on the underwriting. And the more photos you give, the better the scope of work detail is. And everything, all the background stuff we ask for, as fast as you can get that, we can spin it. So we're usually 2 or 3 days on it as a normal course with our repeat clients. Can I keep moving, Jackie?
Yeah, no, that was great.
Okay. So when you buy a house, you're going quickly, you've got to be ready to think through your exit strategy. Stephen Covey says, start with the exit and start with the end in mind. So these are all the different exits you can have. And so we probably have people on this call who have different goals there. So if you're a wholesaler or buy and hold or you fix and flip, you want to know your exit is fast because you're going to be talking to your lender about what's going on and they're going to ask you the question. And so you need to be thinking about this ahead of time. So I just want to make a few comments on a couple of things that we see. So if you're a buy and hold person and you've been on bigger pockets, which Andrew mentioned, and you're hearing about the BRRRR strategy, you need to know how the underwriting works. If you haven't heard the BRRRR name at BRR or BRRR, you buy the property, you rehab it, you rent it, you refinance it, and then you repeat. It sounds beautiful. You're using other people's money the whole way through. Here's the trick bag. If you're talking to your bank and they don't understand what you're talking about or doing, you buy a property for 100,000, you put 30 in and it's worth 200. If you do the refi before it has seasoned, which may be 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, they're only going to lend you 75%, let's say, of your purchase price. So if you borrowed 100,000 from your buddy and you told them you're going to give them their money back in 90 days, and the bank's only going to give you 75% of it, and you didn't realize that. Then at the 90-day mark, when you get going on this, all of a sudden the bank says, we'll give you 75, and your friend's looking for their 100, and you've got a $25,000 gap there. So you've got to understand that. So you'll want to know what that works so that you don't get caught. We see that all the time. The second tip, if you're a wholesaler, you'll need to decide if you're going to do a same-day double close or transactional funded deal, where you're going to buy it in the morning and sell it right after that, or if you're going to do an assignment. An assignment means that you're going to assign the rights of the contract. You're not selling a home, you're selling or assigning a contract. So if you're the buyer dealing with a wholesaler and they want to do an assignment, you need to be comfortable with the language, the terminology, the contract. And what you'll need is you'll need the assignment agreement. And with it, you'll need to see the purchase contract because that's what you're buying. So if you simply sign an assignment contract without even seeing the purchase contract, you're buying the rights to something that you don't know what you're talking about. So be careful on that. Okay, fix and flip. You're a new investor. You're excited about fixing and flipping. You're hearing everybody tell their great success stories. Nobody's telling you about when they had all their screw ups, but you want to get going. Here's my big piece of advice. I would recommend people to look for the low risk, low reward properties to start rather than the high risk, high reward. So to get to the low risk, low reward to start in this market, it either is going to mean that you're going to need to pay more than other people would or more than you will in the future, or it's going to mean that you're going to partner with somebody in some way, or it's going to mean that you're going to go geographically outside of where you'd normally like to go because there'll be less competition there. And that's okay, because you're trying to just learn the life cycle of the transaction. So I think that that's my full prepared remarks. I wanted to just throw out there a variety of topics, and then we can just hear what everyone's got questions on.
Okay, Adam, Bianca has put a question in the chat. Andrew has answered her. I just want you to confer with, how do you know how long it takes a property to season, and what does that depend on?
It's the bank sets the rules.
Right.
Yeah. So common ones are somewhere between 6 months and 12 months.
Okay, what does seasoning what does that word mean in,
Yeah, that's a
in
good
real
question.
estate speak?
Thank you. Seasoning is the amount of time that you have owned the property.
Does it depend on if it's if you refine like the BRRRR strategy? Would it depend? Would they take into consideration how long it's been rented or the number of rental payments you have received on that
Yeah.
property?
Thank you. That's such a good question. So the seasoning term is just dependent on how long you've owned the property, but the different banks have overlays on it, which is what you're talking about. So if you don't know what the term overlay is, here's a good example. Well, 2 years ago in North Carolina, to buy cigarettes, you had to be 18 years old, except if you went to Walgreens. They had an overlay and you had to be 21 years old. That's an overlay. The banks are the same way. There'll be a minimum federal standard depending on if it's Fannie Mae and all that kind of stuff or what kind of loan you're doing, but they may have an additional restriction on it. And so a lot of these banks will say, we want to see a rent history of a certain number of months, which is what Leslie was talking about, because they're doing their loan as a derivative of the rent and the revenue you've got, and they want to have proof. They want to know if you know how to use irregardless in a sentence or not, and how you handle that.
Yeah, Adam, I think that's a good thing that you brought up. When people talk about the, I can't roll my R's, strategy and the refinancing option, I think it's natural, if you haven't gone through it, to believe that when you're approaching whichever lending institution you're going to go to do like a cash out refi, you know, a lot of times everybody's running their comps based on the comparable approach. So if I were to sell it, you know, and the houses are going for 350, then the amount that I'd be able to refinance, that loan to value, should be based on 350. But truthfully, the banks are going to look for an appraisal, and if they know that it is a buy and hold, it's a long-term investment, they're going to ask the appraiser to do it on the income approach, which means it is going to be based primarily on what the rental income is for a house that size. And it can dramatically change what you believe the value would be. And it's hard to explain it, but
Yeah.
it's
No, that's exactly right. And another trick bag is how you're buying the property in terms of whether you're buying it as an individual or an entity. So if you're going to go to the hard money lender, the hard money lender is going to only lend for business purpose. They're looking for the LLC, because a hard money lender is not an RMLO. It's not a licensed mortgage loan originator. So you go ahead and you become an LLC at 9 o'clock tomorrow, then the lender can lend you at 9:01. Then you go to the bank 6 months later, and the bank wants to see 2 years of stuff from you and all that. So you may need to flip it back to you as an individual. So you need to understand how the bank's going to handle all that. So your relationship with the bank and your communication with the bank is critical, and you've got to be careful about asking the wrong questions, because if you didn't ask the right questions and bring this up, they wouldn't have mentioned it. And then it's only at the last second when the rug gets pulled out.
Anyone, any other questions or anything you'd like to talk about? How would you go about getting a title search done on a property that you're interested in placing a bid on?
Kathy, will you handle that one?
Call your attorney.
For those who don't know, Kathy's an attorney. Just that's why I wanted to throw it at her. So, can you explain to them how an abstractor works?
Yeah. So, if you want a search done on a property that you're interested in bidding on, you'd contact the closing attorney. They will have the title abstracted, which means they go back through the public record at the Register of Deeds in the county where your property is, and search the title back 30 years to see what mortgages are in place. And some people, I've known people who don't get title searches done to bid, and their rationale is, well, it's a foreclosure, so junior mortgages would be wiped out, which is true. However, there are some things of public record, mortgages and liens, which do not get wiped out, such as IRS liens or other state tax liens. So it's always a good idea. A title search is $165. We'll even do them cheaper if you just want to bid. So if you just want to bid at an auction, you don't really need the whole 30-year title search. We'll do a limited title search for you to just see what's on the record now for less money. And then if you buy it, that would be credited toward your final title search. So it's no reason not to have one done. It's just too risky.
And what's the turnaround time normally, would you say, between the ask and the return on it?
3 days for us. We can, if you're, I mean, we've certainly have had people call us and say, I need it today, and we've done it. We'd like to have 2 weeks ideally, but we regularly do them in 3 days. And if you're a regular client, we'll do whatever it takes to get it done for you. but we don't like it.
Well, I would appreciate it if people wouldn't mind using the chat box and just talk about the things that we covered tonight. What was an aha
Someone's
moment?
asking if a hard money loan amounts based on ARV, Adam.
Yeah. So we're standard operating procedure. Everyone's a little bit different, but we run the ARV. We take 70% of that, and then we discount the rehab, and that's what we'll do for the acquisition. So to slow it down for people and to use an illustration, let's say a property is worth 200 when it's fixed after repair value, and it needs 30 in repairs. We'll take 70% of the 200. That's 140. We drop the 30. That means that we would do the acquisition up to 110,000, and then we would fund the rehab, the 30,000 on a construction draw basis, on a reimbursement basis. And that's fairly standard with all the hard money lenders. They may have a slightly different number or ratio that they use.
And Adam, how do you do your construction draws?
Yeah. So what we do on those is it's sort of loose and fluid. And if it's, let's say, a $30,000 rehab, we might say, why don't we plan on 3 draws of about 10,000 each? You, the borrower, will pay your 10,000 for your work, your HVAC and your roof. Send us pictures, send us the receipts on it, and then we'll spin it back and send you the money, and then use that 10 for your next part, and so on and so on.
And no draw fee, right?
Right. We don't do a draw fee.
So earlier, if you recall, Adam explained the difference between private hard money lenders and institutional hard money lenders. There's another big difference right there. Institutional hard money lenders would generally charge you for a draw between $150 and $200. They also send someone out to inspect that draw.
Right.
So I just want to make, is everyone real clear on those formula? Because I know when you just hear it for the first time, it can go a little quick. I want to see, make sure everyone got how Adam and lenders like him base their figures and the percentages. Here's another question in the meantime, Adam. Shateris is asking, can you touch back on how to find the property? Are there websites, or how do you go about finding a broker for listings?
So those are different questions, I think, in there. So real estate agents, let's start there. They'll work with investors if they think it's going to be worth their time. So you need to, from a dating perspective, show why you're a good date for the real estate broker. And that's why you want your buy box, so that they know that you're for real on it. And then you guys can decide how that relationship's going to work. They don't want to just simply keep on making offers if that's never going to work out. So it's got to line up there. In terms of websites, Zillow's a website that you can see properties on. You can go on auction.com. There's other auction sites as well. That's a well-known one. So there's a ton of sites out there.
So Bianca is asking for you, how do you get your ARV without an appraisal? Is that just an in-house decision?
Yep, that's why I became a real estate agent, is so I can run my own comps on it. Yep.
Yeah. Hey, and I will give a plug, guys, especially because this is a new investor meeting. There is a lot to be said to send, if you have a deal, to send it to a hard money lender, especially one that's local, because it is an extra advice. I know people get frustrated sometimes. A deal is rejected, or you can't get the money that you want, but you need to remember that sometimes that is the best gift that somebody can give you. The hard money lenders are exceptionally experienced, and they want it to be a win-win situation. So if they're looking at these numbers and running the ARV, and their numbers are substantially different from yours, and they're saying, no, it's not a good deal, that's a present a lot of times. That's a, oh my goodness, thank you. It's an extra set of eyes, and I probably just saved myself from losing a lot of money.
Fantastic nugget. Totally agree.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah.
And that's another place too where your TRIA community comes in. You'll find that everybody's willing to share their expertise with you. And nobody is, competitive and you're a new investor, they're going to help you. They're going to take you under their wing and share their knowledge with you. All right, anyone else? Our hour is just about up, so it's pretty good timing, but there's certainly time for a couple more questions if anyone wants to send anything else or have anything else you want to talk about. Do hard money lenders typically want investor to bring some of their own cash, or can the entire project be financed through the loan?
Yep, we like skin in the game. Emotionally, psychologically, that's an important piece on it. And that number is a moving target, and that's based on the client relationship and the strength of the deal that you brought in there. Oftentimes, it might just be $3,000 or $4,000 that we're talking about if everything else is lined up. We had one where we told the guy it was such a risk. We do it if we brought 50,000 and he brought 50,000. He said that sounded fair to him. But normally it's $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000, something like that. Great question.
Yep, great question.
Okay.
All right, guys, going once,
Going twice.
going twice. That was a great presentation, you guys.
Yes, thanks,
especially
Adam.
Really
Great
great. If
information.
you are a new investor, that was wealth of information
Yes.
for you guys.
Do you, Kathy, or I don't know who I should talk to. Do you guys want me to send some of the slideshow?
Yeah, absolutely. If you'd like, you guys, if
Who should I send
Adam
it to?
will send it to any one of us, I'll just send it to the list of all attendees.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thanks for having me.
Send it out.
Yeah, thank you so much. Everyone's saying thank you so much in the chat as well.
Yep, great
In case you
message.
Still can't see it. Thank you, thank you,
Thank you,
thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, Adam, this has
You're
been
welcome,
great.
you're
This
welcome,
is
you're
everything I needed as well. So thank you.
Oh, good.
Oh, method to your madness right there.
Any, you have any announcements or anything, Andrew, about what you have upcoming?
No, TBD whether or not we're doing this in person or through Zoom next month.
Well, that's a good thing to talk about. What has Leslie, have we talked about doing New Investors Live?
No, we haven't, but if we've got the interest, then for sure we can give it a shot.
And you're willing, Andrew?
I mean, I'm willing if everyone else is. Is there somewhere that they can, cast their votes